Spiritual sex and candy, yeah.
Hey, all you sensual souls. Welcome to Spiritual Sex and Candy. I am Heather, your shamanic sweetener, and we have JP Adkins, our Freedom Jedi, as my illustrious co host. Hey,
Hello, Miss
JP.
Heather. Hello, it's so nice to see you.
It's so nice to see you. We are on episode 38, Master Your Life, Dominance, Submission, and the Pursuit of Control.
Ooh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah.
Spank me.
Speak. All the things that we hated as a child, we now like as adults. Naps and spankings.
Uh-huh.
And
Except,
before we
you know
get
what?
too far into this and
Yeah.
ask how everyone's doing today, here is your trigger warning. If you are easily offended, if you do not like the word fuck, if you do not like to talk about sex, drugs, and all the things in between that, then please see your way out. We love you, but we don't want to hear it. And we love you. You are loved, but bye bye. Bye bye now.
Bye. Is it
Hi,
safe?
Jeff.
Hi. Is it safe now? Have they all left? Are all...
If they haven't, they've been warned that they might want to. Because,
Uh,
we talk about all the fucking things on here. It says it
all
in
the
our
things.
name. I mean, if you are watching a show called Spiritual Sex and Candy, I feel like you should um, be prepared.
Yeah. You know, in prepping for this show, I found this really great quote. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Do it.
Are you ready? I'm just like, I was so proud of myself. We are all dominants and submissives. The important thing to find out is which one you are and be the best you can be. And that's by
Yes.
Gavin DeBecca.
I love it.
I know, isn't it's like we forget that dominance and submission shows up everywhere in our lives.
Oh, yeah.
And we're talking about that a lot. In the Odysseys right now is dominance and submission. How do you take those BDSM principles right into our lives? So they're actually fundamental aspects of human interaction, and they're present in every single relationship, every workplace, every social situation. And now think about it. I know
There,
you,
well,
Heather. Go.
and in every species,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because if you want to talk cross, like even when you talk about other species, when you have a pack of animals, there's the alpha male, right? There's the alpha, the beta, the omega. There's the um, you know, if it's a wolf pack, there is the part of the pack that is just the submissives, right? They are not a dominant animal. So I mean, this goes across the board,
Yeah.
not just with humans, but we get to talk about it.
Yeah. We for levels, right?
Yeah.
Um, I itch. Am I back?
You're back.
I had a whole weird thing happen just on the side. I went woo, like it knew I was getting
We're
ready to
breaking
say
the
something
internet.
good. I know. So as a switch, I know for both sides of that. I know the dominant and the submissive side, and I have
So
and
tell people what a switch is. Not
oh,
everyone listening knows what we're talking about. So what's a switch?
so a switch is when you naturally fall in the middle. So you can be dominant in some situations and not dominant in other situations. Um, and often it just depends. For me, at least, it depends on the person. Um,
This is relationship wise, right?
this is
You're
relationship
talking
wise.
about
Yes,
relationships, right? Like,
I'm talking about relationships. In
okay,
real life, it works too. There's it's a being that team leader and a good team player. Some people could uh, are really good at being both. I'm one of those people. I can lead a team if I need to, and I typically end up leading the team at the end of the day because I might be a little controlling of it. Um, maybe I have to give up control, and when I have to give up control, it's really sometimes that's a challenge, and I have to really trust you, really, really, really trust you.
I don't know anything about that.
I know you don't. I remember when you first started taking over when we switched to the spiritual sex and candy from the old show,
Yeah.
and you kind of took over, and I'm like, oh my god, I can't do this. I'm like in everything. I'm doing my best to just let you do it and let you go, and being there when you need to be, when I needed to be, but not really saying much, and like try to be like cool, calm, and collected. And then Heather's like, dude, I need your input. like
Yeah.
like you can't
I mean,
just
because
step
this
all
is,
the
I
way.
mean, for all intents and purposes, this is my show,
Yeah.
right? That's why I always say he's my illustrious co-host because, in all, in, for all intents and purposes, this is my show.
Mhm.
Um, I will always do this show,
Yeah.
and um, but when we first started, I had never done a show. You've done a bunch of shows, and so then you were
Mhm.
just like, "Here, do this," and I'm like, "What?" I mean, and I am such a, I mean, I'm not an alpha or anything. I
Not you.
No, not
Never.
at all.
No.
Um, yeah, I definitely am an alpha in so many parts of my life, except for in a relationship. Oddly enough, right? So when it comes to business, always came to work. I was always like, tell me what you want me to do and leave me the fuck alone and don't micromanage me. I hate to be micromanaged. Tell me what your expectations are and I will do that for you, you know. But then just let me do my thing.
Yeah.
But I have been in like friendships and things like that. I've had people say, "Why are you on the fence about everything all the time?" Because I won't take either role in like friendships and stuff. If you're a good leader, I'm down. If you are not a good leader, then I am going to I'm going to take over and let you think you're leading.
You never. I've never experienced that in my life. I don't know what you're talking about.
I know. I know.
Um, no, so I've been in management since I was 18. So for work, I've always been someone, and I've always been in middle management for the most part,
Yeah.
until I started running my own companies, and then it's weird because then I started not having a boss, and that was like, okay, there's no one there, and it worked really. That structure worked well for me for a long time, because I had a boss, but I was the boss. I had a boss, but I was the boss.
Yeah.
And when I had to start being the boss of me, I I'm not a good boss. I am not a good employee, and I'm not a good. Yeah, I slack off. I do things. I Today was a good example of like what happens when you kind of procrastinate for a little bit too long and deal with some things, and to deal with things that you need to deal with. Um,
Yeah.
so having that in effect and knowing where you are and what actually works for you is such a powerful tool in your tool belt, and not being apologetic for it,
Yeah.
and not being and knowing what that situation calls for. Because if Heather and I both started trying to like, take control of things, although we're very good friends, but it would cause some friction
Yeah.
at the end of
Of
the
course
day,
it would.
because we're both kind of like, yes, I'm going to take control of this. And so one of the things that really helps is define your role. When you actually define that and you start to say, hey, you're in charge of this section. She's in charge of the show. I show up. I look pretty. I have a conversation.
Yeah.
I push the buttons.
Yeah, yes, he pushes the buttons to make sure that we go live.
Right.
Um yeah, yes, and I've had to say, could you like step in and give me some show ideas, because
Yeah.
we still have to both come talk about it. If we're
Right.
only talking about what I want to talk about, then Jeff becomes a dull boy. Like you're like, I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't like what is this? And I've picked some very uncomfortable conversations for him. Even though run them by, he goes, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, that's fine." And then when it comes time for the show, he's like, "Who fucking picked this shit?" And I'm like,
Like,
"Well,
hell,
I did, but I did run it by you
it,
before."
even when I pick the shit, because
Yeah.
almost guaranteed whatever it is that we say we're going to talk about, especially if we do a couple months in advance, that week's topic is going to be whatever chaos happened the week before.
Yeah.
Um, and so we walk in and it's like, who picks these? Who picks these shows? Like, beat up, battered a little bit, Yeah, this is a topic I want to talk about. Yeah, I'm gonna
Right.
let's not and try to maintain some kind of professional.
Wait, we're professional on here?
Once in a while, I do. Once in a while, I try my best not to have like all my shit out on the floor. You
Yeah.
know,
Well, yeah, because we want to be able to have a conversation and people listen. So like I'm pretty vague about my stuff for a reason. I'm super vague about who I talk about. I'm super vague
oh yeah,
about, because it's to give other people autonomy. It has nothing like I'm putting my shit out there, but I don't necessarily need to put other people's shit out there.
right.
Right? But relationship wise, so we were talking about this right before we started, was that like I am I command a room when I walk into it. I am okay about like we could talk about whatever. I will talk to you about whatever. I will listen to you about whatever. If you told me to get up and give a 20-minute speech, I could get up and give a 20-minute speech and not be prepared, but I could off the cuff say some really awesome fucking shit. When I get home and I am in a relationship, I am a completely different person to a degree. I become the spoiled brat when I get home. I want you to tell me what to do to a degree with respect. Right. Right. But like I want to feel the safety and security of being with someone who is just like this much more alpha than me. Just enough for me to feel comfortable to not have to be.
Yeah,
And
understand.
I've never truly found that yet. Maybe you're listening right now. Hit me up.
Right, right. I'm trying to think. I was very alpha in my relationship with Eddie. Um, and I'm saying his name because he's dead. If anyone wants to come at me, bring it. Any
Right.
of his family. If your family, if my honestly, guys, if any of you guys are listening, please reach out to me. I miss you.
Aw.
Like I miss his family. A lot. They were very wonderful people, and whoa, that took me way off. That whole train of thought.
I have not like with my that one time I was married.
That one time.
Um, that one time that I was married, he was not a very dominant person. And so it was, I ran the show and it was however I wanted it to be. And that's not fun for me. There has to be I don't know, I feel like there has to be a part of your life that you're not in complete control of. That you can relax and be submissive in some form.
Yeah, I mean it's the whole soccer mom thing, isn't it? The soccer moms are taking care of everything and anything, They really do need that partner to be able to take control of something,
Yeah.
whether it be sexually, maybe it's shopping, maybe it's just any of it,
Yeah.
whatever that is, and hopefully it's sexually because yeah,
So that's so that is where I want the dominance is sexually because I'm super fucking awkward.
yeah,
I know you would not think that, but I'm very awkward when it comes to sexual encounters. And so it takes me a long time to get comfortable enough with someone to be a little more controlling in that department. But like, I really like the whole like fucking, get on your knees, bitch. Maybe not
hmm
quite like, you know what I mean? I mean, well, there's a time and a place for that too. You know what I mean? But like, yeah, I, yeah, I like a good ass whooping once in a while. You know what I mean? And not as a punishment of like you didn't do what I told you to do, because I'm not about living that like true dom sub relationship.
yeah.
Um, but a good ass smacking. Mm,
um that's normally my nose. I think that I've said that before. It just takes me out of the scene. I that
yeah,
and shit. If I smell shit, I like done. Like exit. And I know it happens. We're doing it. Let's face it. It's I've had it happen. I've had it happen to me. I've had it, and as long as I can't smell it, it's okay. But as soon as I smell it, I'm like, I can't do
right.
this. Um, I'm not in a diaper play, so is
Yeah.
um for
But the
me.
sub actually really has control.
Oh yeah, the sub always has control. And one of the things I really like about one of the reasons why I think I do much better online than offline is because I do get awkward in that moment. Like I don't know how to express that maybe in the second, but if we've already communicated kind of what we were going to like some parameters of some framework, and that's one of the things about BDSM scenes is that you have these parameters that you've already established that you get to
Yeah.
pick and choose from. So in that moment, I can pick and choose this and this and this and this and this,
Yeah.
or and not, and it might not be exactly what we said, but there was a limit and there was a control and there was a it provides that nice framework. And I'm a systems guy. We all know that. So it gives me a system. I can plug this in, plug this in, plug this in, and we're all well and good. Whereas some of the times when I have maybe not had that, and maybe not had the conversation that I could have that would have served that. Um,
Right.
one of the times that reminds me is when I was in Mississippi and got picked up in the grocery store. The one and only time I ever did that, did a grocery store like pickup. It was hilarious. Who still calls me all the time.
Did you pick him up or did he pick you up?
He picked me up. Yes, I was like, I had just bought this shirt from Walmart. I might still have it. I might not anymore. But it was on clearance. It was like August, and so it was after Pride, and they had a clearance shirt that said was human. You guys probably saw this shirt. It's a rainbow, and it says
Yeah.
human, I think. And the funny thing, my sister has the same one in blue,
I love it.
and we were wearing it on the same day. One of the times we went and saw mom, and she was wearing it underneath their uniform. She goes, "I'm wearing that shirt." Like, it pulled it up. Um, so it, we the experience was not as great because we didn't have the conversations that I normally would if I was to meet somebody online. Because
I
yeah,
could see that. Well, yeah, because there is I mean, kind of an awkward conversation that has to be had. I guess it doesn't necessarily have to be awkward, but getting it out of the way because it is not sexy when you have to like that part of it is not like a turn on because you have to
Right.
say, okay, so here's my safe word. These are these are my hard no's. These are my hell yeses. These are right. You set those parameters with someone. So for women, at least in my experience, like I kind of talked about last week, where I am really careful about what I say and what I like. Um, because men take that as an open invitation to try to do all the fucking things at one time. Right? And so then they think that the first time we have sex, I'm going to be a freak and you're going to be able to choke me and pull my hair and slap my ass and make me pass out. Like, no, dude, that's like, you have to earn that. You, because it's a safety issue.
That
I'm not
and it
letting
sounds.
some random dude choke me out. Like, uh, not a good idea. I mean, it could be fun. I'm not saying that it doesn't happen sometimes, but like, you also have to know how to do those things. And so for
It has
me,
to.
it's, when I'm talking to someone, I'm very careful about, when they start doing the whole, what do you like, baby? And, I want to do this to you. And, and I'm like, well, you know what, dude? Let's go into this with no expectations because they
I
get it in their head, men get it in their head, and I'm sure there are women out there that do too. Don't get me wrong, but like, I, yeah, I put myself in enough unsafe situations that, or I have in the past that adding that to that situation, not a wise idea.
Yeah, there's so much. There is a safety issue, and there is a difference about what you say to somebody that you're planning on just hooking up with
Yeah,
for the rando, and what you would say to a partner. You
for
know,
sure.
and I, I'm thinking of my most recent ex at the moment, and because it was I met him at a bondage club party.
Right.
So I met him in a scenario, and it was during October. Um, Things were a little crazy, and so we didn't have that conversation until after our first scene, and our first scene was a little bit more than I would have normally done for especially a first scene. Um, and it was probably one of the hottest things I've ever done in my life.
There you go.
So, but on the other side of that was when we never hit that kind of chemistry again.
Right.
So we had this really great, amazing scene, and we developed a good relationship. We're good friends. I have no like, really, truly, I have nothing bad to say about him. You know, he's an amazing person.
Yeah.
We hung out last night. Although we
Right.
broke up 3 weeks ago, um, because he's a nice guy. And when we
Right.
stopped considering ourselves dating, it all fits back together. You know.
Right.
Um, so yeah, you have to really watch, and you have to really. There's a really a difference in what you say to a rando and what you would say to someone that you are in a committed relationship with.
Yes. And this, all of this actually does spill over into regular life. Like we started the conversation with saying that in most scenarios in my actual life, I'm a very dominant personality, and people would actually not believe, they would think I could see Heather, and I've had people say this to me, like, I'm surprised, like, you would be a great dominatrix. You would be a great, like, I could see you getting all dressed up and with the whip and the whole 9 yards and lick my shoe and all of that, but I I, I don't want to humiliate someone like that. I don't even care if they're into it. Like I don't have it in me. I don't have it in me to tell someone they're a piece of shit. I just like,
There,
uh, uh, and I know there's
there,
all different scenarios. I get that. I know
there are
that what I'm
nice ways to
talking
do
about
that.
is extreme.
I,
You
no, no, no,
know,
not really. I know a lot of, especially guys. Typically, when straight men are submissive, that is definitely part of their kink. They want to be told that they are less than.
yeah, and I spent my whole life building people up. Like that is my whole thing. My whole life is about you are such an incredible person. You are such an incredible being.
Uh-huh.
You can do anything you set your mind, whatever it is, whatever it is.
One of
That
the
the
things,
thought of just
yeah,
telling someone you're a piece of shit and kiss my boot. Uh, nope. Now, I don't want to be led around and talked to like that either, no matter what we're doing. If we're fucking and you're calling me a whore, I'm okay with that.
there,
But
there's there are words that you
there's a
can
line
use,
there, you know
and
what I
there's
mean?
words that you can't. Right. Um. Actually, I've been thinking a lot about that because again, I'm doing this is all the Odyssey this month.
Right.
So, one of the things I was thinking about in the shower today, and of course, I can't. I'm in the shower, and you have one of those moments when you like have this whole thought process. I'm so glad that you thought about this because it just brought it right back to my brain,
Yeah.
where I'm at somewhere I can actually write it down, or I'll be able to record it later. Um, there is something to be said that in this moment, this is where I am, and then the scene is over, and part of aftercare is building that person back up.
Yeah. Okay. I see that.
Okay, so the scene it's a scene, it's a moment, and it doesn't matter if you're living in it full time. There is something to be said about there are time and place for this conversation, and then there's time and place for that conversation.
Right.
And how do you play with those dynamics? Because just because you're submissive doesn't mean you're less than.
Right.
And
I
when
think
we
that's a very important statement,
yeah,
right?
when we
Just
stop
because you're a
constraint,
submissive does not make you less than.
yes, you're equal partner in this relationship, and you're 100% responsible for your satisfaction in your life.
Mm,
So if
that's
you
powerful.
yeah, so if you enjoy being a submissive, there's nothing wrong with that. And you
Yeah.
find a dominant that actually matches your submissiveness, that's great. But part of that has to be them actually giving you aftercare and showing you that you are loved and you are cherished and you are a worthy being. My last actual submissive, I had a whole thing that he had to say to me all the time, and it was that he is worthy, he is precious, um, he is loved, he is worthy, he is capable, uh, and he is precious because he's mine.
Yeah.
It might be a little bit of brainwashing there. I got it. I know what I did. I did on purpose. But part of that was so that I could, use him as a urinal all the time.
Right.
And I can do some of the things that he needed to do. And part of the rest of it was building him up and reminding him that he's a capable human being and he can actually do things and he is not helpless and he is not reliant on someone else.
I think that's super important to bring up too because so many times people step into the submissive role because they feel out of control and they want someone to just tell them what to do. Like I don't know what else to do. I don't know how to do the things. I don't whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And just to have someone to say get up and do the fucking dishes. Today your chores are this, this, and this, or whatever that could be, right? But to then build them up on the other side of that is so important, right? It's not just controlling them as an individual, right? Because now I
Yeah.
have seen subdom relationships, and I use that term loosely because in a true subdom relationship, it is very equal, right? Like you said, you build
Yeah.
them up, that sort of thing. I have seen people who live the lifestyle. Again, I use that term loosely, where it was not like that. There was not, there was no building up of the, it was truly the Dom being control, being in control of the submissive,
Yeah.
almost to a point where it was abusive.
There
And
are
I've seen
things.
that in a couple of different scenarios throughout my life. I've seen some that work very well.
Uh
I've
huh.
seen both sides of that. But it
Right.
is a slippery slope, especially if you're going to live that lifestyle, right? All the time.
And you have to, again, it's about finding that love and that cherish and building it from that space of respect on both sides.
Yeah.
Because sometimes being a submissive is a freaking, it's much more challenging than being dominant. Dominant gets to say, you know, but a true Dom is actually looking at the welfare of their sub. They're actually looking at what it is they need in that moment and why do they need it. And maybe it is to be broken down into nothing so they can rebuild into something, and sometimes that could be that they need to just be told how much they're loved and how much they're cherished. And I know one of the big kinks right now is object play, you know and that puts you in a headspace that is kind of crazy.
Wait,
For those who don't
what?
know what object play is.
I don't know. I'm ignorant. I know a lot of things, but you're always teaching me something.
So object play is basically where they, um, sometimes it's called gimp,
Okay.
and um, a lot of it is can be where they are stripped of their full identity, often in rubber, from head to toe, where they don't even get fingers, that they're
Oh,
literally covered everywhere. This is an extreme version of this. There are milder versions of this where they have to be a table or a footstool
got it.
or just something. It's typically lower than the puppy, than the pet. So in the hierarchy of things,
Right.
there might be submissive and then slave and then um, pet and then object. Yes, and I'm probably missing one there somewhere. Um,
See, you learn something every day.
yes, and then there's dominant, there's sir, and then there's master
And then there's
on the
daddy in there somewhere.
daddy. Yeah, daddy would be dominant. Daddy dominant. Sir master, and you have to know what level you are in that game and what level you want to play in that game. And at the end of the day, all of our life is a game. So I'm not saying this is just a toy and people are playing around, because there is a lifestyle and I understand that.
Yeah.
And
But they're
and
still playing a game in some degree, right? Like,
it's a role play.
it's a role play, right? In some way, shape, or form. Yeah.
I can role play as a nurse or a doctor
Right.
just as easily, and you have to remember that in that moment, in that space, in that time, for that time, and giving that space, and then having another space to walk into. That's how the um, allowing it to treat the things, some of the and do some of the darker um, shadow work can be done through BDSM, but you have to have that other side of that. And you
Right.
have to have that side of where it's light and where you are loved and where you are shown off and you are cherished and you are you know, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like. If you're the dirty little secret all the time, then how much does someone cherish you? And how much do you really want to be a part of that?
Yeah. Yes, I knew a girl who talked about being like living in a dog kennel, and or that she knew of someone. I don't think it was her specifically, but of living in a dog kennel, and like that is not.
Okay.
I feel
So,
like that like that's an extreme of things where at some point that that's not okay. Now, I don't know all the logistics of it, so
so
I am
I okay, so if you're going to put somebody in a dog kennel, okay, you have to take them out, and when they take them out, they have to be like shown off. They have to be, if you are going to have that kind of thing, it has to be in service of,
right,
you know, being the cherished, being the, when you think of it that way, right? If you think of them as a cherished possession,
right.
put them in a china cabinet. You can lock them
Ooh,
up,
yeah.
okay? But you have to cherish that possession when you use it. When it comes out of that cabinet, it has to be just as cherished.
There's the part of me, of course, that wants to pick at the psychological aspects of all of this because that's, of course, where I go, even personally, about like where my limits are and, what I am and I'm not willing to do, and, things that I have purposely not done because to have someone that I trusted enough to do those things with is very few and far between.
Yeah,
Um, and if I ever found that, they're one lucky dude. I'm telling you, like,
I
because they would definitely have to be a little. There would have to be some dominance there to be with me. You would have to be. You would have to
yeah.
be to
Mm,
to truly be with me and be able to handle all of this because
I
in
would
every
definitely.
aspect of life, by the way, respectfully
Yeah,
in every aspect of life, because I want to have someone who, like you were saying, of the building up and the, you know, all of it.
yeah. My last sub, the reason why it worked so well is because of, and one of the reasons why I think that I was so attracted was because I felt so protective.
Yeah,
I found somebody who was not necessarily wasn't necessarily treated in ways that they were healthy for them. And so I was very protective, and I wanted that. I was like, no, you're mine. You're cherished. You are loved. You're always
right.
loved. I don't care if you're my sub. I don't care if I have you stuck on my feet. You're still mine, and you're cherished. And this is just part of that.
And that could change them psychologically throughout all of life, right? Because we're talking about the pursuit of control. And the reality is it's controlling what you truly want out of life, right?
Right.
That's what this whole conversation is about. Whether you are submissive in the bedroom or in life itself, or, it is finding the where you fit and what you truly want in life. Like you get to control the narrative on
Mhm.
either side of that, no matter what role you play. You get to make those decisions for yourself. And I want to make that very, very clear because this conversation
Yes.
is not just about fucking and having, being a dom or a submissive. It
Right.
is about the pursuit of control in your life, whatever that is and whatever that looks like for you. And being able to take a look at your life, and you don't have to fall in either one of those roles, but most people do in some way. They may not say that, but there's someone who wears the pants in the family, right? We hear that term all the time, right? She wears the pants in the family. That means usually that she is the dominant and the alpha in the relationship in some way, or he is.
Yeah.
And then we get down on women who allow their man to do that, where they, and I think
But that's what we were taught.
but that's what we were taught. Yeah.
We were taught that the man should always be the one in charge, and the man should be the provider, and the man, and we are still teaching our boys this.
Yeah.
Make no mistake. And one of the big problems we're having now is that we're teaching our boys that they're supposed to be these alpha kings, and we're teaching our girls that they're supposed to be these alpha queens, and now they're trying to do that, and they're getting such mixed messages.
Yeah.
Instead of being, you need to be partners, you need to be able to talk, you need to be able to have those conversations, you have to be able to figure out which one you fall in line. There's no problem on either side of these.
Correct. Right.
If it's healthy, it's sane, safe, and consensual.
And in every species, there are males that are not dominant.
Yes.
So, like, let's just put that, like, it is not just because you're a male that you are dominant. It's not just because you're a female you should be submissive, because that's not how it works out in with any other species either. There is plenty of species where there is, and usually there's an alpha male and an alpha female in a
Yeah.
pack in some way, right? There is, so it is a natural thing, but it's what is comfortable for you, and don't allow anyone else to tell you what that is or make you
Yeah.
feel less than
Right.
because of that role, right? Um because no, not all men are dominant,
No.
which I think is so funny because now there's so many, like, I don't know how many videos that I watch where men are like, I'll get you to call me daddy, or, like, which I'm not
All is
saying that they're not dominant alpha males, but it just makes me laugh at how many are out there that are making videos that are, you know.
but if you're right, but if you're going to do that, you have to be able to dominate your life first. You have
Yeah.
to look at your you have to look at your time management. You have to look at how you're controlling your life, your time, your resources. You have to look at your money. Can you support somebody? Because if they are bringing in money, that means that you are not in complete control. Rule number 1: you cannot be completely in control if you're expecting someone else to provide some money.
I I
Done.
I would love nothing more people, and this would shock probably most people who know me. I would love nothing more than to meet a man who made really good money, who said, "Do your business for fun.
Hmm.
I love that you want to do that. Go make all your dreams come true. I got you."
Yeah. I
It's going to happen for me. It's going to happen for me. And most people would not believe that I would be that way, but I truly, like, there were years, for years, I was like, I would love to meet a man who wants to take care of me and my kid, and I will take care of the house, and I will suck your dick when you I'm just kidding. I mean, like, I don't know that I'd have a full face of makeup on when you got home because that's not me, but that, like,
Hey, if
everything's
you're paying all
provided
my
for you.
bills,
All the things, all the bills are paid. Go get your nails done. Go do what you want. Here's the, not the rules, because I don't. It's a mutual of, there's again mutual respect there in some way, but
mhm,
um, yeah. I and the one time that I did that, by the way, where I stopped working and he made all the money, and I made sure the bills were paid and all of that stuff out of the money that he made, and then he fucked me in the end.
mhm,
Like, when it came down to it, he was like, "Screw you. You hurt me." And then he drained the bank account and left me with nothing. And I was like, you know what? This is not the first time I've started over, Probably won't be the last time I start over. And I've had nothing before, and I will make something again, you know.
Mhm.
Um, but even at this point in my life, oh my God, I would love for a man to just be like, let's travel and you could do your thing. I'm going to provide everything for you.
Yeah.
And um, because that's what he wants,
Hmm.
right? And you get to build whatever you want and what that looks like for you just to make you happy. Not because it has to be done, but because that's what brings you joy.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
It's going to happen.
For me, I don't think it's even in gay relationships. It really never. I've never seen it happen well, work well. You know what I mean? It ends up being a thing, because again, we're all told that we have to be providers, we have to be the ones, and we have to. This is
Right.
what men are taught. And if you don't think that you do, just look at every single thing. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying that that's a bad thing, right? Because we should be taught that we need to provide for ourselves and we are self sufficient and we need to,
Oh, yeah,
you know.
absolutely.
So don't make it sound. Don't let me sound like I'm sitting here going, well, you should be saying this to guys, because you should. You should be saying this to the girls too, and you should be talking about how to compromise in the middle of a relationship, and we should
Yeah.
be talking about how to make that work when maybe the guy doesn't make as much money, and that's okay too.
Yeah, I
And
have friends that it's very much that situation, right? Where
mhm,
she makes much more money, not that she did when they met, but does now, um and that's it's okay with them. You know, they've worked it out as things have happened, and he's perfectly okay in the role that he, and what he does, and
yeah,
it works for them, and there's nothing wrong with that. Again, like I said, it works both ways,
right.
because there are plenty of women out there that have big dreams and want to do big things. And just for the record, I have been the breadwinner in just about every relationship. So
Mhm.
I usually am the one that makes more money. And you know, I have been the one that made more money. I had been the one that made sure the bills were paid. I was the one that, and I took care of my daughter and I pretty
And
much by
my
myself her whole life. I mean, her dad paid child support, but let me just say that he paid the same amount from when she was 3 till she was 18.
yeah,
And nothing against him. Like, I'm not, that's no hate on my baby daddy.
right.
That's not, which he hates that, but the father of a child, um, that's no hate on him. But, just like,
Even at my worst in my relationship with Eddie,
yeah,
even at my worst, I still made more money than he did.
yeah,
I when I One of our biggest problems is that when I really needed him to step up and like actually do what he was supposed to be doing, he got more into drugs and didn't bring home
yeah.
what needed to be brought home. So it was one of our biggest issues, probably in our relationship, probably more than anything else
Well, and I think
that
that that's
happened.
important, for you to know what you want out of that. What role do you want to
Mhm.
play? What really suits you, and that you have those conversations with your partner. Whatever partnership you have, right?
Yeah.
And to revisit that, just because that was who you were 20 years ago is not the same as who you are now. And if you are not growing and evolving in your relationship, and it's, then that's a whole nother, right, that
Yeah.
becomes a whole nother problem. And so make sure that you are communicating about what you really want, what role you would like to continue to play or not continue to play, right?
Uh-huh.
um and have those conversations on a regular basis.
Yeah. It's kind of it's being in communication. Our lives are lived in the conversations,
Yeah.
both internal and external. And if you have an internal conversation that says this isn't working for me, You need to have the external conversation and say, this isn't working for me.
Yeah.
What do I need from you? What would make it, but also kind of have an idea that of what it is that would make it work.
Right.
Okay, one of our biggest issues is I mean, even now you're seeing it play out on the world stage. I don't like this. Well, what would you really like?
Yeah. I don't
What
know,
is
but
it
I
that,
know it's not this.
right? I don't know. It's not this. How many times have you sat in a job? You know, I've done it. I know I've done it. I can promise you I have done this.
Yeah.
And sat at a job that you hated because it's there, and and changing it would be so much more of a challenge than you're not doing. So you know there is something to be said about knowing what you want next. And one of when I left Pizza Hut, that was my revelation. I don't have to work here. It was like, oh, I was getting ready to kill myself, and I'm like, I could tell you exactly how I was gonna do it, and it was a biohazard. I was gonna do some destruction. I was not only taking me down, I was gonna take down this store, the whole thing. And I realized, I'm like, I don't have to work here. I really don't.
Yep.
And once I started like really getting that through my thick skull, and one of the problems is I kept going back to Pizza Hut.
Yeah.
So it was one of
Because it
those
was a
like
comfort thing.
it's a comfort thing. I make decent money. If I went back now, I would. If I walked back in a Pizza Hut right now, I would probably walk in in the next level,
Right.
um, which would really screw my sister because she's up for the next level, and so I don't want to. They're
We're
trying to
not
wait for.
doing that.
We're
It's
not
just
doing that.
saying.
Yeah.
But you and I have had
Um,
that conversation before too, right?
yeah.
You pick your poison, right?
Hmm.
Because if you're not doing what you love, you're picking your poison on what you do,
Yep.
right? So if you're gonna, you get to decide. You get to, if what you are doing is not working for you, you get to make the choice on whether you continue to do it or not. And if
Right.
you don't, then quit bitching about it because you made a choice to not do anything about it, right? And if you bitch about it long enough, the universe will make it happen,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
right? And I have a friend who has done that, just that, right? Where they talked about wanting another job and maybe I should be looking and this and that, and I'm like, yeah, you should, right? Like they were not moving up the way that they should or been promised to, and all of the things,
Mhm.
and then they got terminated,
And when
and
you are
for
not
something that like was bullshit. It was a bullshit reason.
right.
But the universe went, you were so unhappy. You were not getting what you deserve. We're going to make you get into a situation where you have to find something that you fit better with, right?
Yeah.
And in that pursuit of looking for something else, I said to this person, quit applying for things you don't want to do.
You have a quote that I love and I quote all the time, and it's one of my favorite things that you've ever said in my life, and I talk to you on a daily basis.
If you want to manifest something, quit talking about what you don't want and tell the universe what you want. You don't call and order a pizza and tell them what you don't want on it.
Hmm.
Because you are going to get back more of what you don't want, right? When you start listing all the things you don't want, the universe doesn't know the difference and you're going to attract more of what you don't want.
Yep. So true. And another thing is, if you're not changing it, you're choosing it.
Yes.
If you're not
Yes.
changing it, you're choosing it. And
And people
it's
will
not that you're.
argue that with you, right? They will go,
Oh,
it's not my choice. The fuck it's not.
right
It's all a
now.
choice. I do what I want.
Right. Right. Perfect shirt for that. Right now, there's unlimited possibilities right now.
Yeah.
And right now, I literally could strip off all these clothes, go running down the street.
You could. There would be consequences to that, but you could do
There's
it.
consequences to every choice, right? And it might
Yeah.
not be the one that serves me the best. Then again, I might find a man. There's like 5 or 6 gay boys right in this neighborhood, so I mean, you know, but it probably wouldn't serve me in the long run.
Yeah.
So really start thinking, I am choosing this. And if you start just choosing the life that you're living, just choose it, choose it, choose it. I choose today to do this.
Yeah.
I'm choosing today to do this. And start to feel, I assert that you will start to feel a shift in everything. Everything just starts happening. I
Absolutely.
choose to take a nap. I choose to I choose to not do this. I choose to procrastinate on this. I choose to, you know, one of the things, today I was dealing with the fact that I've chosen on multiple occasions not to check my water system, knowing that I did have something that should have been, I thought was going to be really easy to fix over a year. And come to find out that was already a pain in the ass. And then when I hooked up the rest of the system, I realized that the whole back bathroom is all out. So my water system's down. Okay. And I chose to not check that a couple weeks ago when we got warm the first time, because one of the reasons I didn't check it was because it was cold, and you can't do it while it's cold, and there's things. The reason my pipes broke was because it was cold, you know.
Yeah.
So having that together, and it was a choice. And when everything fell apart, I didn't fall apart. I did kind of say how much I was pissed off and screw the universe today. But that was natural. It was a
Yeah.
natural response to what happened. But I chose to not look at this a month ago when I might have been able to get it fixed before I leave.
Yeah.
Probably not, but I might have. And there's been other projects that I've known that I've had to do, like change out, take out the shelf and put it in with the new anchors. And my shelf fell off the wall today.
Yeah.
So if you are not changing it, if you're not doing it, if you're not actively changing, you're choosing.
And that's neither good nor bad,
Right.
right? Because it just is, right? That's one of those things that it just is. Get clear on what you want. If I could end this with anything, it would be get clear on what you want and take control of you. Because the only thing that you can control in life is you. And when you try to control all the chaos that is going on around you, you are creating more chaos. The only thing that you can control is your response or reaction to what is going on. And if you are reacting and not responding, then you need to take control of yourself and start, right, being able to respond instead of react.
Anytime that emotion goes up, intelligence goes down. And there's a lot to react to right now.
Yeah.
And part of having control of your life and really learning that control is to not being able to being able to take that breath and having that pause, having that moment. Take the
Yes.
breath.
Take the breath. I love it.
Heather, what do you got going on this week?
I'm buying a car this weekend. I'm going to go test drive some cars, depending on who you talk to. I'm in the pursuit of a vehicle, so that's going to happen this week. And I may or may not be able to join Jeff in Nashville next week. We will not be live next week. We are not doing a
Yes.
show next week. It will be the
Correct.
following week
Mhm.
because Jeff will be traveling and I possibly will be traveling as well next week going towards Nashville. So there's a
Yep.
conference going on and I may or may not make it there. We're going to see how this weekend goes.
I am so excited. Like there are so many things that I'm excited about Nashville. Um, like, and I appreciate you. I just appreciate you.
Hmm.
Every day you show up somewhere. Anytime you're one of the first things I think about when I think of appreciation. Um, she is so
Aw.
amazing. Um, I have okay. So today's Tuesday. Sunday is sanctuary. And
Yes,
then
Sunday Sanctuary.
Monday we do a midday meditation. If you would like, you could have go and check out the recorded meditations that are in the meditation hub in Orange Dragonfly Center. Um, if you need to have that breath, start practicing taking that breath. And what I found is that when I meditate in the morning, it's a lot easier for me later on when it actually like I need that breath. I can come back to that space.
I love that.
Check out Spiritual Sex and Candy. There's amazing merch there. All of our links are there. I know you can't have Heather's titties either. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
If I can't have them, you can't have them. And
But you can go have this shirt,
you can.
spiritualsexandcandy.com. It is available. Go check it out. Go check out any other episodes that you might have missed. We love you. We will see you in a few weeks.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.
Everyone here at the True Awesome Network asks you to please subscribe, like, comment, and spread awesome.